Today I want to show how to use this stencil paper that I got for the Cricut. It's like a vinyl, and actually when you go to cut it on your machine, it looks like this. It looks just like the transfer sticky paper that you buy, only it's blue. And when you go to cut on it, I just sort of had to feel this and compare it to the vinyl, and I just assumed that, you know, it's about the same thickness as the vinyl, and it does work to cut it on the vinyl. So this is one that I cut out, and I went and got the little poker and pulled out all the little pieces on here, and just have to do that carefully, especially like around the M here, because sometimes these little tiny little areas want to come up with you, and sometimes, you know, they can wrinkle or tear, so just be really careful around those and try to pull the letters in the direction that, you know, they're going in. That way you're not pulling against anything and maybe ripping it up. Anyway, this is ready to go because this is going to be used as a stencil, and that's actually kind of what I wanted to do with the Cricut in the first place. That's kind of why I wanted it. I don't really do scrapbooking or anything like that, but I do a lot of paintings, and I thought having an ability to make stencils would be a cool addition to some paintings and let you do some words on there, especially if you're not that good with handwriting. So this stuff is kind of rubbery, and it's almost feels, the sticky on the back is a lot like the removable kind of Cricut paper, I guess, like the vinyl, the removable vinyl that's meant to peel off and not really take anything with it. So if you're sticking it onto something that has paint, it's nice because it's not going to take anything off with it when you go to remove it. So I have one last little star here, and this star was cut with just the regular star, the default star shape that you can get when you're in the Cricut Design Space app. So, you know, it's very rubbery, and I won't mess with it too much because I still want to have it sticky. And then I guess they make it blue so that you can see where you're placing it. I'll just stick this one right here, kind of hanging off the edge a little bit. So they're all a little crooked. It sticks down pretty well, but you can kind of go over all your corners and make sure they're stuck on there. But yeah, I guess they make it blue, or at least colored, so you can see where you're putting it. And it still has the grid lines on there, so that's nice for sizing and making sure you know what kind of space you're working with. This little piece of wood is 12 inches across and 5 inches this way. And so I knew that, you know, my blue area was going to be over here. The first 4 inches or so would be blue. And then I have about 8 inches here to work with for the stripes. And so when I peel off this, of course, there's more red stripe under here. It continues. So then this will get stuck on there. And then I'll show you how I transfer this on here and then use black paint to make the words stand out on this side. So right now I just have some navy blue paint in a cup, and I'm just going to paint over my stars. Although these are stuck down, and I trust that, no, they're stuck pretty well, I still like to paint this way, and you can kind of see how I'm painting from the inside out. I don't go the other way because I always worry that I'm going to get a little paint slipping up underneath the stencil or sticker, so I don't want to do that. So over here you don't have to worry. And this blue looks like it might need another coat, so don't feel bad about having to do that if you have to go back. So let me get all this done. Do a really thin coat so that I can blow it dry. Do a second coat, and then I can peel these up and see how well the adhesive actually works, because I get a little concerned since, like I said, it's kind of like that removable feel. It feels like the removable vinyl, which I don't really like to use at all, and I'm really not sure what you would do with that. I don't know why people would use removable stick-on vinyl with the Cricut, because, you know, you make something, you should want it to stick around. You don't really want to stick it on just to take it off, unless you're using it as a stencil, which in this case you would just use the stencil material, I would think. So anyway, let's get this finished up. We'll blow it dry, do another coat so we don't see all those brush strokes on there. I don't really like to see all that. And all this is going to have a very matte finish when it's done. I'm not using any gloss paints, and I think it just looks right on the wood. I wouldn't want to use gloss on something like this. So let's come right back and see where we're at. Now I was wondering if the heat from the dryer was going to mess with our stencil paper a little bit, and it kind of did. It started to shrink this one, which is why you can see where it was kind of getting a little smaller. And these are going to be obviously easier to peel up because they're around the edge. It did do a pretty good job, although, you know, I'd be interested to do this again, painting the opposite way, where your bristles are actually kind of going up towards the sticky edge of the stencil, and see how well it does. I guess you could kind of reuse these. I don't know. They're clean on the back, but, you know, like I messed this one up with the dryer, and they do have the paint on there, so I don't know that I would. Oh, that one came out really good. I don't know that I would reuse them, especially because this is such a small thing. Wouldn't be hard to make this one again. with something like stars. You could find some star stickers, or, you know, if you want circles, perfect circles. They have those little neon price stickers at the dollar store, you know, like the ones that say 50 cents that you use when you have in a yard sale or something. So I'll just stick those there. So yeah, I would just use something like that, you know. Now I'm going to peel the tape off here. But, you know, I just wanted to kind of, like I'm saying, try out this stencil paper and see how that looks. Okay, not so clean of a line right here where the masking tape was. So we know it seems like the Cricut transfer paper does do a cleaner job with sealing it down than the masking tape does. It's just painter's tape. I usually like this stuff, but not so much compared to the Cricut right now. All right, and now I have to get this piece. I want it to be right here. I want to see the words on the stripe side. Kind of center it as well as I can. You know, I'm lucky that I have straight lines here. That way that can be my guide to make sure I'm even and everything. So kind of going to be right there. I'm going to watch this side here with my S, not too close to the blue, because we're using black paint. And to get it on here, it looks like you would want to just peel it off, stick it on. There's some problems because it gets a little floppy. Sometimes the letters kind of hang down or twist up a little bit when you go to do that. But also you've got things like you need these little centers that inside your E's, you've got the center inside your O. You need all those, and those will get left behind if you peel this up, and then you'll just have a hollow spot there. So it'll look really weird. So we need to use something to pick this up and put it right on here. So normally Cricut would tell you to use their Cricut transfer paper, and they have all different kinds. They've got the regular one, and then they've got the one that's extra grippy to grab, you know, your textured papers or papers that have glitter or whatever on there. And they say you can reuse this stuff. I don't have a very easy time reusing it because it's hard to stick it back down onto the wax background when you're done using it. It's kind of hard to stick it down without bubbling it or without sticking it to itself sometimes, and so also it does tend to lose its stick a little bit, so it's not the best for that. I don't really like reusing it. I would say for me it's going to be a one-time use, you know, especially if you're sticking it on a surface you painted or on something wood. It's going to pick up stuff. It's going to, you know, it's going to have some dust or some particles on the back of it. It's not going to stick well the second time around. I have tried that. I don't like reusing it. You know, you also can't help but get your hands on it a little bit, and wherever your hands are touching it, you've got those oils in your skin, and that's taking away from the adhesive, the sticky, so not so good for reusing. But this stuff does get expensive, and you don't get a whole lot on the roll. I don't like that the packaging is so thin, and it's like a sheet of thin plastic, and so it comes with a little insert that tells you about the product and has some information, some ideas, you know, to get you inspired, but you kind of have to just save that somewhere in a book or a folder because you can't really put it back on the roll. The packaging is so limp, it's not really something you can keep. Some of them come in a nice solid plastic tube, and then you can just put it back in there, put the little cap on there, but they don't all come like that. I don't know why. So the ones that don't come like that is just kind of, I don't know. I don't really like the way you store it. All I can think to do is put a rubber band around it so my little pieces don't come out. So anyway, not so great with the packaging. I think they could have done a little better, especially with this stuff being like $8 a roll. But anyhow, you know what is a heck of a lot cheaper than this Cricut transfer paper is this stuff right here. Just contact paper. You get a whole lot more on the roll. I mean, look at it. There's just no comparison. The size of this, I don't know how much you get. I don't know if you get, like, it's 12 inches this way for sure. I don't know if you get 2 feet of it. You might get 24 inches, yeah. It might be like 24 inches long, and then you can see how wide it is, 12 inches wide. This contact paper, I don't know how long it is. Let's see, it'll tell us the dimensions on here. Okay, so it's 18 inches across, and 24 feet of it. 24 feet versus 24 inches? I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I think Cricut, I'm holding up the wrong one. I think Cricut, on this stuff, you only get 24 inches. Yikes. I don't remember what this costs, but I want to say it was like less than $5. And look how, I mean, look at this. Look how much you get on there. This is solid. There's no tube inside there. This is just solid contact paper. I haven't used it yet with the Cricut material, with the vinyl. So I'll see how that works, but I have cut myself a little piece of it right here. That is the size that I need it to be. So it's going to work on there. So I'm just going to peel it up, we'll stick it on and see how it does. If this stuff works, I have a feeling I'm not going to be buying any more of this. So let's see. I don't really have the cleanest hands right now because I have paint on my hands. So I would recommend washing your hands first. Don't do what I'm doing. All right, so you see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of letting the middle droop down and then naturally just let it lay on top of everything. Okay, I don't know. So far, it seems to be working in a similar fashion as the Cricut transfer paper. Hopefully, all's well. I guess you could use something, you know, the back of something to stick it on really well. Kind of go over all those pieces, make sure you got the little centers of your E's, the center of your O, those little small peaks on your M, because those are the things I have a feeling will be left behind if we're not too careful. Okay. I want the whole thing to come up, right? I want all of the blue. The only thing that's going to be left behind on this is going to be the white backing on it. So everything else is coming with me. There we go. Contact paper actually peels up easier too. Seems like I get a better grip of it. Okay, so far so good. All the blue is on the contact paper. So far, you know what? I don't know, but so far it seems to be working better than the Cricut transfer paper. That's crazy to me. I didn't think it would be this easy. No, this is way easier. It's way easier. That's crazy. Oh, so one little piece got us, but that was pretty, like, I'm pulling this just with ease. It's not fighting me at all. Okay, there, that's it. Beautiful. And with this stuff being so cheap, I don't have to worry about reusing it. You know, with the Cricut stuff, I'm like, I feel bad if I throw it out because I feel like I've got to get at least another use out of it because I spend a lot on the paper. But with this stuff being so cheap, who cares? Just throw it away, you know? And I already tested it out, so I know it's going to peel off, but now I just have to lay it on there because it's all transparent, because the blue part, you know, and I do like Cricut for that. I like Cricut for their stencil material. I like it for that. So I'll give them that. They did come up with a product that I think is very handy for that, and I don't think anyone's going to top that for a while. I don't know, unless they make another one like contact paper comes out with something like that. It could be cool. Anyway, I'm just going to smooth it out, make sure it's all on there. Again, focusing on these little small areas so they stay put, but also so they stay stuck down when I go to put paint over it. I got my little end here that I can just grab from right here. Oh, not sticking that well there. It's a little too rubbery. Not wanting to grab onto the wood. Okay. It's starting to peel up. Okay. I'm pulling it and I'm holding it very close to this board. So notice I'm not like up here pulling far away. I'm staying nearby so that way if anything happens and anything kind of gets messed up, I'm able to stick it back down, patch it up quickly. So far so good. Not giving me too much trouble. Contact paper is working well. Oh, see, it's too rubbery, too removable. You know, they make it with that removable type of sticky backing, but see, it's coming up off the wood. Doesn't want to stick down those small little areas where it's really critical. Otherwise, that's not going to look much like an M if that part is not stuck down. Don't worry, we'll go over it with something later and make sure it's really stuck down. Center of the O. There we go. Okay, so it's on there now. This is a stencil that I wish I could reuse, but I'm afraid with the paint going all over it, a little heavier on this than it was on the stars because I'm going to use a foam brush. And I'll explain why in a second. I don't think I'll be able to reuse this because I think it'll get too messy. Unless you can kind of maybe lay it down on something, somehow wipe off the wet paint. I don't know. It would be really hard to do without getting it underneath and ruining the sticky part on the back. And if you lay it down on some wax paper and just let the paint dry, I guess that could work. But you know, then you'll just have the buildup of the paint on there. So if that doesn't bother you, or if you don't do it too thick, then you won't have to worry. I'm using a foam brush because this way, with all these little peaks, you know, it's a lot more to mess up than just on the stars. And you want to make sure all these little peaks are really stuck down well, all these little small pieces. So this way I'm not going to be brushing at all. With the foam brush, you really don't brush, you just dab. So I'm just going to be doing like this and dabbing right in the area where I need to, and then hopefully it's not going to spread out or slip underneath any area where it's not supposed to be. I am using gloss black paint. And so just figured if anything is going to have a different finish, let's let it be the letters, so that way they're going to stand out anyways because they're such a dark, bold color. So that way, you know, it can have a little gloss on there, and that'll be good. All right, and then we'll just have to see how well this thing stuck down to see if our stencil looks good enough when we peel it up. And remember, you're going to have to go and use the little poker tool probably, or your fingernail, to get those little insides out of the E and the O, because those are going to be stuck on there pretty good and you won't have anything to grip it from. All right, so I'm just doing this. Make sure when you get close to the edge, you don't do what I just did. I got dangerously close to the edge there because I forgot my blue paper doesn't cover the whole thing, so I was kind of getting a little too close to that edge there. All right, I really hope it did a nice job. I just tried to blow it dry a little bit, but I could see it was starting to melt the stuff again, so I just figured, let's just not try that. Oh, it did a nice clean job so far. Okay. Also be careful, because if any of this paint is wet when you're peeling it up, you don't want to lose your grip and let it fall down, because it might fall down in such a way that it stamps some paint somewhere where it wasn't supposed to be. So be careful of that when you're peeling this up. Maybe you have two hands, maybe have somebody else ready to grab it from you in case that was to happen. So pull it far away. Very nice. All right, pretty clean lines. I don't really like over here something happened. You know, maybe I just had a little too much paint on my brush. I feel like it shouldn't have happened because this stuff was stuck down really well, but okay. And you know, this point, if it's, as long as it's clean on the back, you could probably lay it down on something to use it again. Only problem is the next time around, you don't have those circles in your O's and your E's where they need to be, so you would have to be very careful about where you're going to place those. So I'm not going to worry about reusing this because I know that would be way too hard to find out how to stick those down just right. But you can use your little poker tool and you get to see how this works now. Pretty easy. You just kind of poke it and pull it up. I stick them to myself so I don't stick them to the wrong thing, or maybe have wet paint showing up somewhere. All right, you don't want to leave these on there for too long. The paint might seal them on. Oh no. Okay. So this project was pretty neat. In the end, I'm just going to go around the back of it. I'm going to drill a hole right here and right here, and put some rope in there, or maybe a piece of twine with a knot in the back, so it has a little hanger. I would definitely use the Cricut transfer, the Cricut, what's this stuff called again? Stencil paper, stencil vinyl. I would use the stencil vinyl again. Oh, wait, I forgot one. Probably going to use up the rest that I have of the transfer stuff, the Cricut transfer stuff. What do they call it? Transfer tape. I'll definitely use the rest of it up, and then just switch over to contact paper, because it did a fine job. I mean, I have no complaints so far. So I'd have to try it out with the different vinyls, maybe try it with the matte vinyl, try it with the glossy vinyl, see how it works with something like that. Maybe it's not so easy on different surfaces, but on something like this, on a wood surface, or, you know, canvas board, I'm sure, very similar type of surface, I like the job it did. So I'm going to stick to that.